What's up? It's Scizzahz, representing Lobster Music. Cognac and Cohibas Volume 2's out now. Myself and Wiz supplying with the heat. Just wanted to go through another beat making thing today, trying to get as many of these out as possible. I'm not going to give you a complete breakdown and waffle on for an hour, but I just wanted to kind of go through a bit more in depth about the process of myself and Wiz and how we make beats on a collaborative tip. And we'll go from there. So when making a beat, it can be different every time. Most of the time, you know, I'll hear a sample, or Wiz will hear a sample, and you kind of use that as the basis to build everything else around. Or sometimes you can start with percussion and then build from there. Or like for this instance, I basically was watching a show and I heard a sample in there that was covered in dialogue, so I couldn't sample it or find it. But it was so simple in its structure that I was able to recreate it using synths within Logic. Yeah, it's a very simple structure notes-wise. And basically I used Massive, which is a real go-to for me synth-wise, just to kind of find which sounds I wanted. I usually start with something simple and then trawl through for hours finding the right sound. And this is one that I kind of landed on and really felt cut through nicely. So it's already got a few things on there, but I kind of wanted to take it down. It was a little bit raspy and sharp for the sound I wanted. So I just rolled off the high end and put quite a fair bit of mid-range in there on the EQ. And also I went for a fuzz wah, the filter that I use quite a lot and always have done. It's a real go-to for me. And then just a bit of compression, which kind of comes into play later. But with that in there, it kind of sounds like this. A real kind of dreamy sound to it, which is something I was really going for. I also wanted a synth underneath just to kind of add texture and layers to it, so this time I used Absynth, which again is another go-to synth for myself. And this on its own sounds like... But together it works really well and comes out like this. The first synth's kind of doing a lot of the legwork, and the other one underneath, like I say, is more for texture and just to beef it up and fill it out a bit, but together I thought they worked really well. So once I had those synths in place, I decided to kind of go ahead and write a bit of a pad in there, which is usually the way I go with it. A real go-to for me is the ES2 Dark Pad 3. It's just a very warm, simple pad. When you mess around with the settings, it sounds great. Yeah, so I played around with that, and to bring out more of that in the mix, because that is obviously quite subby and low end, I decided to replicate those notes, and then went into FM8, which has got a real nice collection of real raspy synths that cut through in the mix a bit more, and I thought with layering that with the pad would kind of work really well, and that came out like this. So if you listen to the synth I just added in on its own, it's really raspy and nice. So basically at this point, like with most beats, I think it's good to kind of let it breathe. I often kind of make something that's sounding good and it's got a real nice feel to it, and then I leave it for the next day so that I come back to it and it's a real good way to taste test, because you've kind of forgotten what it sounds like. And when you hear it the next day, it's either like, yeah, this is going to work, or nah, leave it, trash. So I heard it and I was like, this is definitely good enough, and sent it to Wiz. Basically ran off those stems, sent it to Wiz with a BPM and said, you know, work your magic, and yeah, this is what happened. So yeah, got the stems back from Wiz, which was mainly percussion, some extra blips in there as well. And a really insane vocal. I'll just go through a few of the ones first. So, drums wise, real nice snare, super crisp. The crashes on there sounded real nice. And the kick coming in sounded fat. course the brass. And basically it's kind of there or thereabouts. Obviously I cut it up and structured it. Effects wise, I've put a little high end on his snare just to bring out the crispness of it. With the kick, I've sent it to a bus, which is then kind of applied with the side chain to a lot of other synths, just to make it kind of really kick out and sound nice and fat in the mix. Hats kind of left as, just brought down. With the brass, I've added a few things. Sausage fattener, I think it sounds really nice. It's something I use on 808s quite a lot. It's a really nice cheap plugin that works well. A bit of exciter to bring the brass out again in the mix, and then again compressor with the side chains for kick. And then after that, Wiz added these insane vocals as well, which sound fantastic. So, sounding pretty big, and at this early stage it's working really well. I just felt it needed a bit of structuring, and when you structure you kind of feel that it needs a bit of variety and change. So I've basically run a high-end filter on these, again with a fuzz wire. Just to make it sound super dreamy, kind of underwater sounding, really nice. I've kept in the pad and the bass as they are, because they want to cut through nicely. Added a fat kick on here, which is from Battery. Battery 4 is really nice. I've added some Space Designer to this. Dream Hall's a great setting on Space Designer for anything like that. It can get muddy in the mix, so you have to be careful, but on something where it's stripped down like this, it works really well. Also from Battery, I've added a really nice snare to it. Just love that sound kind of cutting through the mix real nice. And I've really thought, just to kind of stop it being too sparse, I've added in a drum break, which I've pitched down a semitone, and again added some Space Designer on that. This is Fine Hall setting, which is similar to Dream Hall, but just a lot less. Sounds like this. And then finally to this section, I've added some extra synths in there. This time FM8 again. It's something I've kind of been using a bit more and kind of neglected in the past, but there is some nice sounds in there. And they sound like this. But yeah, at the end of it, it's kind of sounding big and sounding roughly like this. Nice one for watching. I'm going to be uploading a few more of these. If there's any beats from the past that you like and you want to hear Deconstructed, let me know. And yeah, go get Cognac and Cohibas Volume 2. It's out there. I'll put it in the description. Peace.